until you address your pelvic floor overload, you're going to keep peeing your pants. What do I mean by this? Let's first just break down leaking for a second. It comes down to a pressure game. If the pressure in and around the bladder is higher than the pressure closing the bladder, you're going to have leaking. So for example, if I took a water balloon, filled it up, didn't tie a knot on the end, and handed it to my kiddo, as soon as we let go, the water's going to come gushing out. Similar thing with urine in the bladder. If the pressure in and around the bladder is higher than the pressure closing the bladder, then you're going to have leaking. So what a lot of people think is that it only has to do with how strong our muscles are that close the bladder, our pelvic floor muscles. However, they could actually be working just fine or trying to work just fine. What if there are things that are increasing the pressure in and around the bladder? And let me tell you, there are many. What if your pelvic floor muscles aren't actually just weak? What if they are lopsided? What if one side is working better than the other? That will make it so that they can't close the bladder properly. And this is really common in anybody that's had an injury to their lower extremity, like their foot, their ankle, their knee, or their hip. There's also lots of different things in our posture and in our movement strategies, habits, injuries from sports, or just habits from how we work and how we lift and how we move our bodies in the sports that we play can make it so that the pelvic floor muscles are either lopsided or maybe they're just not as efficient as we want them to be. So not necessarily weak. They need to have good timing, turn on at the right time. They need to have good endurance, be able to be on for a long period of time, and they need to have strength. So it's not just all about Kegel exercises and making for a stronger pelvic floor. On the other hand of that, or on the other side of that pressure game, we need to look around about what could be causing excessive pressure in and around the bladder. You can have physical pressure, like you're breathing in a way that's putting more pressure on the pelvis. What if we're posturing or moving in a way that puts more pressure around there? How we use our back muscles, our core muscles, that can put more pressure around it. What if we have habits of using the toilet that are making the bladder more sensitive, more apt to contracting at inappropriate times, making the pressure increase? What if things like stress, anxiety, trauma, things that we eat, environmental things, our sleep, all of these things can make it so that our bladder is more active, putting more pressure in and around the bladder, making it easier to win that pressure game. We need to stop telling women that they have weak pelvic floor muscles, and that is why that they are leaking. We must remove that guilt and shame that we are putting on people, saying that you have to do your daily Kegels for the whole rest of your life, and if you don't, that's why you have your leaking. We have to remove that fear that because I've had pregnancy, labor, and delivery, or because I'm aging, I am just going to have leaking and I'm going to have to live with it. These things are not true. I take out my soapbox all the time and I get really fired up here because these things are not true. We need to take a look at all of the different factors inside of the body, outside of the body, in the bladder, outside of the bladder, in the pelvis, outside of the pelvis. You get where I'm going here, to see what could be influencing that pressure game. And until we do, you're going to keep peeing your pants. All of these things I work with women in the Leakless Living program to address, not just their pelvic floor muscles. And that is how we get results. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.